There we are. Hello there, good night. Welcome to a very late but properly started Manga Mondays. I had the anniversary with my wife today, so I wasn't able to stream earlier on. Besides, had to prepare the whole coffee content, the new coffee content, and the different guidelines. Sort of sharpened up a bit the writing and organize a bit a couple of the things I want to talk about. So well, since this is Manga Mondays, I wanted to move to a place where we're able to make a sort of an in-depth dive into the different aspects of manga. I want that to get recorded in this stream. I have my notes here, but I'm a bit complicated with the let's see. Two monitors not necessarily fix the issues of aspect. Okay. Let's see. What is the point of today's? I've shown on a previous stream this image I was working on. I thought it was proper to use it as a base to redo it in a manga style. I usually tend to run either Paint Tool Sai or Medivan for the line art, but since we'll be discussing the overall shape of things and stuff, I will use this image as example and reference to make a manga version. Let's try to make the use of this. From a visual standpoint, when we're talking about manga, what we're talking about, or what is usually people referring to? Well, first of all, manga for the most part is always dynamic. It's all about dynamism, style, and personality through design. The idea of manga is to be tight where it can be tight and loose and flowy when it can allow for it. Sometimes all of this becomes symbols on themselves, and the priority is to make the figures as dynamic as possible and let them speak through body language. Of course, manga has, like comics, their own codes and their own symbols in themselves to transmit particular emotions or to convey particular moods. So well, regarding design and regarding style and regarding dynamism, we will analyze this image and I will trace it over. I'm not sure if I can make a new window here. Yes, this created a new window, but I have to put it on separate. Yes, this won't be useful right now. Alright. Let's take a quick look at this image. The idea here was to make it sort of pump out. That's why, like always, like 90% of my works always included into a frame to separate figure from background on the first place, and to allow for the required space to make appealing visual choices. So well, how do we turn this image? Why this image is not manga, even though it has particular elements of that, which are particularly usually associated with manga, such as, for example, these highlights here, the form of the eyes, perhaps the kind of elf as well, the proportions of the hands. But we have an excess of detail. we've spoken about being tight, and this was not the objective of this image, which aimed for a more realistic sort of equipment, like I usually like to do with the works I do. So the first thing we should be doing is to identify those places we should need. We'll make the background a bit dark so it will be easy to see it will be easier rather to see the lines. First of all, here we will need, well, the dynamism in manga is fundamental. It's important for the lines to be as light as possible whenever possible, and to take advantage and use of traditional media, particularly ink blackouts, full blackouts, or different textures, right? So well, we will start with a sketchy version. We will look for a semi-hard pencil, and we'll look for dynamic shapes. Manga is a good medium to design attractive shapes and to practice the design and creation of interesting design choices to make the elements around the character or around the image as attractive as possible. Always take the basic rules of how the eye used to navigate an image. Usually, when you are in front of an image or when you have an image, the eye has a natural course, right, which is sort of suggested by the figure itself. The idea here was to, and usually is, to go from here, from the eyes and the face of the character, when we're trying to see what he's up to, where he's coming from, why he has his bruised face. Suddenly we go to the nearest element. This is really common in composition for art, but also remember that manga is sequential art, so the movement and flow of art is present even when the image is static, right? So well, it will go from this here, it will analyze, the eye will do and make this movement. Is the way the image is how do you say, this is the road the eyesight will ideally run through to end here, and later it has elements here on the right to make the eye go to the left and then to sort of go to the center and zoom out to better see the image or get closer to see the details, to discover something more about the image that is in here. These roots, let's say, let's make it a bit thicker. These roots are opportunities of design. These are not the rhythm designs per se for establishing a figure, but these are hints. You can use some lines as part of the design here to not only guide the eye, but also to make your characters start speaking through his equipment, through his actions, through his pose. It really seems that there's a lot of thought put out behind that, but actually everything I'm saying, once you are doing the basic practice enough, which is the same for the regular comics or web comics or historieta or what have you, once you get used to that, once your eyes and brain gets trained to that, it does it naturally. One of the let's say, marvels of manga is the fact that, well, design is supreme and aims to the iconic and to try to be as personality conveying as possible. Let's see, for example, observe, for example, the way that the colors of Son Goku from Dragon Ball. It's orange and blue. Akira Toriyama was a graphic designer, and he had an eye for both composition and capacity to solve graphic conundrums in a creative way by always focusing on dynamism. It was Toriyama that said that manga has to describe the human being. We've talked about that in a previous stream. Okay. Following those lines I've told you, we're starting to establish what seemed to be the most important lines, the better hints we have to make this design more manga-like, without particularly imitating any particular style. I was talking about the colors of Son Goku. Also, you have the colors of Vegeta. That blue and white and gold say a lot of the character. In fact, they are so iconic in about what they try to convey and how they ended up sort of representing personality through design, in this case color usage, which won't be quite the focus of these streams. Manga Mondays is particularly focused on black and white manga and understanding its elements and, well, working on whatever is necessary to identify which are the aspects that make manga so compelling and attractive, and to also see a way when we feel particularly attracted to a work, be it by its visual appeal or the way the story resonates with us. I have plenty of manga titles there to recommend and analyze. I wouldn't like to use these streams to show examples or to show particular images of these works, but rather to analyze its elements and talk about their characters, why they were so important or what they brought to the table, which also ties up with another thing I'm interested in discussing, which is what makes manga so unique and attractive, and which elements, which are inherently Japanese, are so revered in the West. Which one of those we can only study, perhaps never comprehend fully, out of cultural barriers and things that are lost in translation. Good thing about the images, though, is that you hardly get lost in translation. You can always in your own way can sort of make sense of the message. I was talking about the color coding. Well, watch the way the Son Goku colors and Vegeta colors repeat on Naruto and Sasuke from Masashi Kishimoto's Naruto. A work that I will say once again, as I've said repeatedly in previous streams, I think to be superior in every way conceivable to Dragon Ball. It has a deeper focus on the psychology and the sort of the tricks behind the combat and the nuances of about being a ninja in battle and in spirit. All of those things make it to me far superior to Dragon Ball. But in order to achieve the popularity it did, of course, first and foremost, Kishimoto's genius, because he is a genius. He's a master character designer. He works proportions really well and has an unmistakable style and a really accurate sense design. Practically all of Kishimoto's design are super cool. All secondary characters could be characters or could be main characters or protagonists from any on any other story. That kind of genius compared with Dragon Ball, where certain characters would only work as a group or as a family. But once again, we wouldn't have Naruto if there wasn't for the way Dragon Ball sort of codified a series of stuff. Not only the colors of Goku and Vegeta, but there are many other elements there that became commonplace or became almost expected to be on a manga, which for more than nearly 2 decades almost defined the, let's see, the style. I don't know if style is the right word, but yeah, sort of put a blueprint there that could be taught, that could be imitated, and that could be improved upon. We have seen many such cases of that during story. Happy Monday there. I got water in my basement. And why? What happened? That really sucks. Rain, oh my god. Damn rain. That's too bad, man. Also, remaking this image will help us with correcting certain mistakes that I was planning on fixing on the final image. I will redo this image to get it to the final point as I originally intended, eventually on streams. But now we're gonna translate what we've done here to the language of manga. This is just but the beginning. I'll read the chat. Just enough to be annoying, god damn it. Feet high, knee high. It drenches all, it wets all my shoes high. God damn it. So far it hasn't been covered my whole floor, but the drain is clearly not working as well. Shit, god damn. That sucks, man. One of the important things of manga is to not overdo it. The first thing to see is to focus on the way the images work. We have more or less defined. We have sort of over detailed things here, but we also have a difference between really thick lines and thin lines. The final goal is to get the figure defined by nearly line work alone. It has to be dynamic enough. We could even make two bases for it to make the word a bit more manga-ish. After getting the whole line art in black and white, the thing will be to we will work on with a classic pattern. With a grayscale letra set classic grayscale imitation. Okay, we more or less have the gist of what we need. Of course, we won't use this line or this X here. This still has to be cleaned, but some of its elements, for example, the way it gives us, if we added a light here, these lines also allows us to get a clear cut. Where are you? There you are. This allows us to get a clear cut on the planes. The planes always add not realism, but make the image tangible. That helps a lot from a visual standpoint. Now the highlights also turn a design element. That's not always the case with regular Western illustrations. We could use this line to determine planes. The eyes will also follow in its trajectory. All of this is pure design. These are ways to make your work more appealing. Not everyone, especially not EA, not artificial intelligence art, takes this into account. That's where it will always lose against humanity. AI turns out to be real good to get rhythm to making songs and videos, but it doesn't interpret the image language that can only be learned through comic and graphic design composition. Okay, this was but an example. We won't use this. It's but a reference. Let's overlay to see if we get something nice. Well, this is good. This works. See the way the image already got separated without working it much and without adding heavy blacks and heavy inking. We already have the figure coming out at us. The main purpose is accomplished. Now the idea is to take advantage of these elements and use it as sort of a limit to tell our story or to tell a story, the story of our character here. Basement is my hobby space. Oh damn, don't tell me all your tools and all the stuff is there. I don't have anything important on the floor, but make it hard. Yes, I fear. Oh man, that fucking sucks. I won't say it's depressing, but it's a bummer. God damn. Well, good thing is if you don't lose anything to water, because that's the thing, it's lethal for most of your hobbies, and might become real expensive real fast on a little descuido. If all the books are safe, if most of if all of the character sheets are safe, then we're pretty good to go. Monday misfortune, yeah. We need an exorcism. Okay, let's work with these lines. We will tighten up the design and we'll iterate until we get to where we want. Here we're seeing the way the character is kind of skinny. It's a half elf and it looks like the armor is quite heavy. So how we can work that? We could make his limbs a bit larger. Since it looks to be a tall character for a half elf. Half elf Half elves give a good wriggling room when determining how much of an elf and how much of a human you will give them. Well, here it makes no sense to make this is a brawler, so he has big fingers and his hands are. The idea was to make them swollen. I find most half orcs just look like yeah, we've already had this conversation, but as I told you before, it is needed to sort of get to a place where one and the other can be easily recognized as such. That is a victory of design, and there's no reason for a game that runs on pure imagination not to have a couple of things considered or established um, on that way on, which I think it's a great advantage to when one is the dungeon master or when you are running a homebrew campaign or trying out a couple of things. It's a good way to give it your own to put your own signature on it. It's a great opportunity. To me, half elves have to be taller than elves with shorter ears, usually red haired, no matter as part of the. Well, in werewolf, you have the inbred wolves, which are called the metis, and regardless of to which tribe they belong, they have sort of common things. To me, or to say to put it in another way, to me, all of my half elves are 90% of the time redhead. I don't know about half orcs and orcs because back when I played But when I play Dungeons and Dragons, you couldn't play as an orc, let alone a half orc. So I wouldn't know. I will consult with the elder gods, like Raiden in Mortal Kombat. What a useless man. What a prick. Forgotten Realms elves, I think, are actually shorter than humans. Yes, besides, there are like 4 additional races or 3 additional variants of elves. I've checked when I was making my research. Because how can I say this without making it sound extremely or unnecessarily suspicious? I would like to focus on the biology of each race. Well, like we were talking that day, I'm particularly interested in exploring the ways males and females of each race culturally and biologically are believably uh, able to breed. The good thing of all this is you can then use all that material to make your own fantasy stories. Once you have the clear rules, which usually is the thing that takes the most time. Well, and to that biological aspect also, I wanted to add a calendar with the not bikini specifically, but rather the kind of underwear each race, each female member of the main races would use, and also to offer a definitive design as well for halflings with the respective variants and dwarfs as well, female dwarfs. But to make finally good designs. No design I've seen so far, of course, I haven't seen everything, but in video games and in literature and in role-playing games and designs from the games, I haven't seen anything that could be well. That was particularly. It wasn't. They were. I haven't found anything particularly appealing to me design-wise compared to the female dwarfs that I haven't. I've been thinking about. I even was thinking about something like sort of that they will have a kind of a racial spell that only male dwarfs would be able to see the real female dwarfs. That will explain a lot of things and resolve a lot of what ifs in a while. And displaying female dwarfs like male dwarfs actually see them, and what they actually see is closer to what we humans consider attractive, well, I think that there's a great chance there, which has nothing to do with manga, by the way, but well. Raiden was never handled particularly well. Well, there's another that. Then you could make the point that all of the Mortal Kombat games Raiden has been a part of, they sort of had an opportunity to make something, and if they haven't done anything noteworthy, then it can be concluded that Raiden is just a shit character, and that's it. Excluding the battle power and the utility as a fighter per se, his skills as fighter per se. That's another can of worms entirely. Astral Sea, High Wood, Dark. Ah, yeah. So there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 OLED variants. Yes, I saw that. I'm particularly interested in the sea ones and the wood ones. Those two are the ones I wanted to explore the most. I basically imagine some kind of wood elven encampment, sort of Amazons only. Mixing it with a bit of the, if you're familiar with Magic the Gathering, the Elves of Llanowar, which have an interesting lore and have a couple of really neat designs and ideas that are completely out there for the kind of fantasy that Magic the Gathering offers nowadays. When I saw the Transformers, I said, okay, I'm fucking out of here. We're using the elements of the character here to sort of suggest a swagger. Looking interesting. Design lines to make the roots, the eye root more appealing. These lines are important in manga. Very little lines that add to the rhythm and at the same time allow for an extra layer of depth. Bird or no bird? Well, the idea was, usually we see the dwarves, and I like dwarves with cool birds. But imagine if the birds of the female dwarves are actually their head hair, so they don't have birds actually, and they have those sort of lovely chubby faces, attractive ones. That's what I'm aiming at. I think that would be good in a way that I'm sure somebody must have done something like that already, but no one has seen my designs yet. I hadn't shown anyone yet to the public. I've made female elves, I've made female half elves, I've made female wood elves. But not female dwarves. Never released to the public. The most interesting thing they did with Raiden was making go full Tyrant. Yes, it was a really interesting concept, to be honest, but they didn't use up the potential they had there. And nobody, I don't know how many people are really there for a story, for a moral. Just show the characters and make them the make their personalities shine For example, a character I always like is Quan Chi. It's a really interesting character. Really interesting character. It always manages to look imposing, even though it most of the time lately it has been only kicked in the balls. It's sort of the swagger of sorts. We've already used these lines here to make the things that are tight to make them tighter. We have here the armor. It has the same elements as before. We could use this here. We don't want to be too obvious, right? But we could use this line here to, for example, give him a rope of sorts where he could have some pieces of equipment. But he's a brawler, so he needs to be. This is the most important. He needs to have his shoulders and the cape. That's why I've put a belt here, and also I'm suggesting a movement. My accent sucks. I will commit to it. Eventually I will master it. If I'm able to talk in English, to speak in English like I write in English, I think I'll be set for life. There was some recent art of two dwarves in the upcoming D&D books. Yes, you're talking about things that to me, in my mind, doesn't exist and have never existed. So I understand you're up to date and you know extensively about what is being released right now. But to me, all of that is already tainted beyond repair. The cover you showed me the other day, even though it seemed like a mock-up. Let's see. I will get some water while I'm not drawing. Let's see if we could put a nice color here. Okay, here's some nice colors while I speak. Let's put the elf to the left. Elves to the left. No, too small. There. What were we talking about? Well, that cover, even though it was a mock-up, to me was like, this is not Dungeons and Dragons. It looked like concept art from a video game, from a generic video game. I don't know. Perhaps, well, like I say on every stream, I'm just getting old, and I remember seeing the past things being far more expressive and stimulating from an imagination standpoint that I'm not seeing right now. I'm seeing so much elements or so many attempts to get away with everything at the same time. That's the main feeling I'm getting about the current tabletop scene. Of course, I'm sure there has to be some niche gamings or some specific places where things must be really cool right now, and there may have a lot of interesting elements. But purely speaking about Dungeons and Dragons, that to me is the only place where I would live forever. Outside, with the exception of perhaps World of Darkness, which it's fascinating from a lore standpoint, an ambient standpoint. I don't like what I've seen so far about Dungeons and Dragons. Very, very, very few things. Very few things. That have recently garnered a bit of controversy, as with most arguments on the internet, which make no point whatsoever. I cannot tell which side is which and who is arguing what. It's everywhere. Have you seen what happened 2 days ago? We don't even have to mention names, right? We know what happened. I'm sure you have seen what happened on the internet just superficially, and the way every corporation on every side of the business were trying to rationalize or try to handle information or try to handle misinformation. All those things, man. If you are seeing them in real life, internet is has gone completely nuts. What happened 2 days ago, and all the comments that you were seeing, literally left and right, completely delusional. And I don't even need to enter into detail. Imagine with Dungeons and Dragons. Historically, Dungeons and Dragons players have been bullied, have been isolated, have been mocked up and made fun of, and suddenly it becomes popular. But at the same time, there are little polycules forming around, or certain preferences, or people that gets invited to take part of the huge D&D family. And suddenly, okay, but I'm doing campaigns with this specific kind of people. Or, come on, man. Of course, all of that sipped through the art. Perhaps merchandising is the only thing that remains untainted, because and you can still get awesome Dungeons and Dragons figurines and all of that. Of that I'm certain. Of that I'm certain. I had no doubt, and I'm sure it's still a strength, and perhaps it's even better than ever. But regarding strictly everything else, save for the dice, thank God the dice remain the same. I would be shocked otherwise. I've seen different designs of dice, but we know which ones are which and how they look like. Let's not try to reinvent the wheel. Okay, I'm back. Let's go with this sexy bruiser. Broken, beat and scarred, like Metallica song. Agreed. Very much not interested in what Wizards of the Coast. Well, Wizards of the Coast. Very much not interested in Wizard of the Coast. Period. For me personally, I haven't seen anything good. And each time Wizards of the Coast had the chance to decry their original user base and disrespect their long-time fans, which you see repeated everywhere. I don't even need to name that certain space opera franchise. I do not need to do it. We all know it. We don't even need to do. Let's make those algorithms work harder to detect new ones, so humans can have a civilized conversation and a thoughtful conversation, a rational conversation about the current state of things. Because if you have to trust everything else, you have to always pick a side and always be ready to antagonize somebody. To me, role-playing games were never about that. But perhaps it's just me. I remember video games striving to be art forms. Now the only thing I see are interactive powerhouses, interactive software that is aiming to be a movie or resemble reality. Come on, man. Come on. Thank God. Each and single official book from Dungeons and Dragons is available. And can be readily used and thoroughly explored for years and years to come. That is my plan. If I was a bit more proficient in English, I would be a dungeon master live, not for hire or that stupid shit that I've been seeing done, but trying to tell a story about a world in order to make books. To make comics and to make things about that. I would really much like that, using only Dungeons and Dragons, Advanced Dungeons and Dragons 2nd Edition rules, which was never tainted by nothing Wizards of the Coast did. except becoming obsolete. Who cares? That is my grumpy old man stand about the fact these have to be rounder. To suggest it's real on the front, we want to make the loose parts flowier. So the punches are hard to determine or gauge. It'd be crazy. Oh, I have to find a video I watched earlier. The 50th anniversary D&D book tries to crucify the people that build the game. Share on Discord. Psst. Yes. I don't know how. I don't know how you. What's the term you guys have in English for the people that that only makes noises when they speak? Blah blah blah. That's pure blah blah blah. You understand? So one doesn't even if you take a if you take a chronometer and say the amount of time one loses entering in those pointless arguments or things or discussions. That's what here in the third world we call first world problems. There are things that once food is no longer a concern, once housing is no longer a concern for the most part, once certain standards are achieved, you start worrying and ruining what was good before just because you're bored or you need new content or you need new drama. You in the case of the average Joe, literally. Oh shit, the average Charles. I don't know. The average Wolverine. I don't know. I don't even want. I don't need. I do not need to name any single name. I don't need to address any single person. It's really clear. Mostly because everything is a stereotype, and all of this in a way or another happened before. Have you seen that Tom Hanks movie, that guy that becomes insane because of playing TTRPGs, and was used to demonize Dungeons and Dragons? It has received so many hits. People said that if you play Dungeons and Dragons, you became stupid, which was the same things that said about comics, the same things that said about manga in Japan, and you start to see a pattern, right? Can't remember the name of the movie. I'm looking on the Wikipedia because I've been watching at that last week. Castaway, Satanic. Yeah, Satanic Panic was the phenomena, I think. But let me see. Because it was video only as well, so it's really hard to get apparently. I hadn't looked for it. I know it exists. But now, what is the standard or what is the immediate image one has when talking about Dungeons and Dragons? I take it's Stranger Things. I never, I never watched. I never had to look at Vecna. I always knew it existed, and suddenly I had to see some CG or practical character disguised as something I do not need to see to know it exists, and it is alive in my mind. Has been alive in my mind for decades. What name do you put to that? Okay, let's look for that. Let's look for that. What were we looking for? Ah, Tom Hanks. Da-da-da-da. The Satanic Panic. I gotta admit, the USA it has an innate gift, an innate skill for branding. You guys are so fucking good. More than 80% of the sort of the improvised branding always is on spot and always really graphic. Okay, come on, Tom Hanks. Let me see which movies have you done that you are ashamed of. Let's see. Filmography. It's not here. Dragnet? No. No, I've looked about this. It has to be in my history. Iritil Dungeon. What was the name? Well, can't find it. Ah, television. Macy's and Monsters, because of course. Let's look at the first paragraph. Well, Macy's and Monsters, also known as Rona Jaffs. Macy's and Monsters is a 1982 American made-for-television film directed by Stephen Hilliard Stern about a group of college students and their interest in a fictitious role-playing game of the same name. The film stars Tom Hanks in his first lead acting role. The film begins in medias res with a scene in which a reporter meets with police searching a cavern. He stole a game of Maces and Monsters got out of hand. Oh my god! This is 1982. Which is the year I was born. All about that alliteration of that is admirable. That is admirable. Just like that picture that has been casually taken 2 days ago, which is the most epic thing I've seen in my life. I can't believe such a casual photo could exist. It's incredible. We will use these metal knuckles here to sort of suggest. They give us an additional plane here. Making the fingers thicker. Thicker. Making the fingers thicker. I had to practice on my cadence. And perhaps have some stuff. Have some notes taken. Okay, let's reverse the image because we don't want it to go much to the left. We want to keep balance. And so far we're getting it, it seems. Yes, we have a balance there. We have to counterbalance. Let's use a different. We have this movement here. We have to counterbalance this. Perhaps we can make that with shades. We trace. We can make straight. This can be black, completely black, to give us this movement here and suggest the bumpiness of our hood. The rest we will have to fix But I'll need to draw the face last. I always... Random desire to find a very specific meme. You are just pitting. You're just pitting those lines, those T-shirt lines, right? If I had a power, I would like the power to automatically snap my fingers whenever I see a cool T-shirt line, and just like that, turn it into a T-shirt. That is the only. I I wouldn't know if I would make a deal with the devil to getting it, but let's say I would carefully analyze the pros and cons. I wouldn't I wouldn't discard it outright. Okay, now that we're heading for the face, that's usually the place that gets the most detail. We could switch. No, we will still go with the pencil we were using because it's good to get good strokes. Pretty much the best example of interesting lines and the use of light and shadows and strokes to convey character is Yoshi Shinkawa's design for Metal Gear, especially and particularly. There you have a master. All the work he did for Metal Gear was when he was really young. He was the only artist at Konami that got his portfolio reviewed with the highest scores. And it has a complete and absolute complete mastery of the line, which is something that with enough time most mangakas develop as well. When you see the most committed or the most accomplished artists in video games, most of them, if not all of them, dreamt of being mangaka. Yoshi Shinkawa, Tetsuya Nomura, Akihiko Yoshida, which one else? A big one is I can't remember. Vecna is done to death, and I'm so tired of hearing. Yeah, man. When you think about it, it's a great thing that you. Don't you feel? Don't doesn't in a way the current state of things is positive or is helpful in a way. You get so tired and annoyed by everything that happens around it that just it is pure talk and no gaming. Nothing is done to improve the game per se and the experience per se. And that you say, okay, oh, suddenly I'm interested into doing in my own story, preferably outside of Dungeons and Dragons, and you start exploring different ideas. I think that's great. That's the positive thing that one can get about the current state of things. But sort of sounds like cope, but if one can make it work. Another challenge of this image is that after all, the character is not that he got unscathed. He has a black eye and a fat lip. But he also has sort of chiseled features because, well, He has been in it. He has been brawling for monsters for decades. Imagine brawling with a troll. We still have many elements, but little by little. The hips seem a bit feminine, but we will fix that when we add the accessories, because we have strips here, leather strips here, or rather, how do you call it? I don't know. Well, vegetal streams, flora strips. I must prepare for the sleep. Welcome, Sally. Have a good night. Good night, man. Thanks for coming by, and hope the water dries soon. We don't need to go over details. Again, the idea is to keep it as simple as possible. I'm even using thicker lines than usual, but we need to get to that process, to that one stroke process. We need to understand the way the ideas are built, and the way the elements we are used to see in our Western system, in a Western art system of way of understanding and teaching and learning art, help us decode, not reverse engineer per se, but decode the things that to get to that, to transmit that feeling without imitating or tracing or referring one's work to a particular author. Those attempts are always perceived. You do not need a trained eye. It's something we've spoken a lot before. You do not need a trained eye to your client, your audience doesn't need a trained eye to notice something's wrong with an image. They might not notice it, but it might be proportions. They might not notice it, but it might be the pose, might be the way the things are distributed. This is a tough one because we have an arm that could be bleeding, so we can justify this. If you see it I've put these lines here so I could suggest where the arm is in this design, right? The elbow should be around here. This is a bit forward, as it was suggested here. It is suggested indeed. That's the other thing you see a lot in manga. The bandages. The bandages help for foreshortening, for helping determine direction on the image. without abusing details and without using much details. This could be fully black. We have no problems also using bold lines or thick lines to course correct, to get to where we want according to what we've always learned without having to relearn anything, and use what we have already learned to apply and combine with the style, right? We will need black here to balance. Perhaps this is something that's done a lot in manga as well, to give a second plane of something when it's superimposed. Well, or rather, it's foreshortened. They tend to do this and make it full black. It's a good way to stylize and to keep the rhythm. Perhaps, well, these lines will have to be a bit lighter. We lengthen his elbow a bit. We also had bandages here, right? We've only determined we'll make it up to there. The bandages will go there. We won't make the full details yet because, yes, I'm stating all the time that no, I want the thumb, but the thumb we have to follow already the movement. It will have to be something like that there. I don't want everything to be leather, which was a classic solution, and the way all the characters, but when there was no functional design, because again, let's remember the elements are dynamism, style, and personality through design. There's nothing wrong in using those elements and exaggerating them. I don't know what I was gonna say. I got it lost. Got it lost in the music. His look isn't menacing enough. That's what I will work on it later on. I don't want his chin to be too sharp, which I think is kind of stereotypical. Of course, he got, like our Mexican brother said, of course le rompieron la madre, but There. We're getting that mix between tough, like chiseled by hits, the background was like a rotten fruit, more like a bruised fruit, right? It has nothing to do with the message I want to, or with the story I want this image to tell, right? But the idea for this druid bruiser was the song Nirvana song In Bloom. I was humming them. Remembering old times. I've sang it a couple of times in some live stages for several hundred people a couple of years ago, perhaps a decade ago. And the song says in the second part is, we could have some more. Nature is at all. Bruises on the fruit. When I thought about that, I say, hey, bruises on the fruit, a druid bruiser, a bruised fruit in the background to sort of tell the other side of the other 50% of the story that the figure doesn't tell, or is just sort of. So I thought about, it already has a manga impression. Lots of lines yet, but we already have the greatest details. The overall feeling, we already have it here. And we have let's put, I already have it, I think, separated, yes. This was nothing too complex because I already had the figure and I didn't want to have that much complex of an idea, but sort of, it's not exactly, you don't know exactly what it is. It looks like a berry. Perhaps it's meat. Sort of it's dripping there. Might be suggesting one thing or the other. Let's look at the original image. Oops. So we have, perhaps a bit confusing. That's what I had it on, almost 21%. Just the idea was it to give it a texture, right? And a couple of things. Perhaps this isn't proportionate or worked enough. I think that's one of the other reasons I never finished this image. Well, anyway, let's see what we have. Let's draw this on a new window to see the difference. It looks tighter. These lines here helped. They also work better as sort of well, materials a druid could use. Different levels of different types of leather, fur as well, also fur. Sort of give it the impression that he is clearly from the woods. He lives from the woods. The woods give him sustenance. And clothing. and a code. I like druids a lot. I never played one myself, but I always like them a lot. I think they are really, they could make for really great characters. By nature, most druids are individualists, so exploring those themes of self-sustenance and the necessities and the importance of learning to be alone, contrasting with the importance to get along with your fellow whatever. That's why I thought that the Druid Bruiser could be a good character, perhaps for a short story, perhaps a one-shot. That's another thing that's unique to for how do you call it? That's unique for manga, the one-shot format. Manga is basically a weekly series, or a monthly series, or a bi-weekly series, but it always follows. For the most part, professional manga goes out on time on a regular schedule for years and years and years and years. But it's not like you just start a new story and you hope for it to become a bestseller. Dragon Ball had like 3 iterations before becoming what would eventually become Dragon Ball and the phenomenon and the standards it set. We've heard stories about writers that are now superstars whose works were rejected nearly 10 to 16 to 20 times and hundreds of times, sometimes not even bothering on giving them an answer. Okay, manga, which in itself it's cheap to produce, but at the same time it's really expensive in the grand scheme of things. One of the techniques to create a story, engage interest, and see how it responds is to make a one-shot. What is a one-shot? A one-shot is a long story. Usually mangas, weekly mangas are among 19 to 30 pages, or 20 to 40 pages. 30 rather. Save for particular exceptions. For example, for a quite long time, the Hajime no Ippo weekly chapters came about 11 pages long, which is completely terrible. But anyway, a one shot, it's the idea of a pilot you would have for a series, for a long running series, like the pilot episode that many series had, or the many pilots that were talking about and whose ideas were abandoned almost immediately or didn't fly off. Okay, the one shot is the manga equivalent of that. You get a 51 mostly self-contained story where you introduce the characters. I need some water. Oh god. Where you introduce the characters, you propose the setting and the initial rules. You can see the difference, for example, with the one shot of Death Note. It even had different rules, but the Shinigami was the same. The main character was not the main character from the Death Note manga. Well, the one shot makes all that, and the objective is to propose, well, is this world interesting for the audience? Are these characters cool for the audience? Do they conform, or is the story presented in a good way? Is people looking to find out more? Does it have a good response? Is it completely ignored? The one shot is used for all of that, and also it's a good way for the artist to prepare uh, for the grind of producing 19 pages a week or 30 pages a week. Can you imagine getting 30 pages a week? For the one shots, usually you do not have a limit of time. It might take you a lot though, because most one shots are done by one single artist. When a story gets greenlighted in manga, usually most mangakas hire assistants to help them with the daily grind and to deliver the finished pages, right? Okay. This looks too much like a piece of gear from American football, and I don't like it. We will have to work on that. Perhaps we could make this a bit looser or a bit flowy. We could add a hard line here. I like this one. This line is too much. It's necessary for lines that need flow to be as loose as possible. This gives us place to get sort of a double shadow here. We could do this, which also suggests movement in itself. It's following this pattern we've been developing for this swagger. If we want the image to sort of preserve this rhythm, see that these lines are going in an upward movement that is also consistent with this. These are guides to make looking at the image a sort of rhythmic experience. In musical terms, imagine these are sort of like the cymbals, the drummer cymbals. We have the blacks, the thick lines here and the interplay here and there. In musical terms, this suggests the tempo. Ideally, all these little details have to be real thin, or rather be resumed as they have to be as clean and short as possible, unless they, like here, look like here we've used them to suggest sort of a whoosh here. After all, I want this to be made of fur. This is the best way to sort of illustrate or codify fur in manga terms. You have these kind of lines. They suggest fluffiness, right? And also allows us to give us different levels of shadows. Okay. We could squish the material here. Ah, the bot. Yeah, I've been tinkering with Coffee, changing the texts and sort of trying to make the site a bit more readable. And when I connected Twitch, it gave me the option of a bot there. I put it, I think, in at 90 minutes. Mainly like if we have no views or we have no audience, like now, I more or less have a visual aid to know how much time has been the stream so far. Effectively, 90 minutes on the spot. I don't want for it to be annoying, but rather than me spelling my coffee site, of course there are easy links everywhere. I don't need to spam anyone, but be warned that that bot will appear there. Sorry. Oh, it also was a link which is really useful, I guess, for the users. Otherwise, I have to say, okay, support us at ko-fi.com/HRZGraph. HRZGraph. Oh, by the way, I'll make you guys listen a song. I made a jingle. I don't know how to put it as a way to put it for the premiere of the stream. I don't know how to do that yet. I don't know if it can be done from the free plans. I don't care. Where is it? Where is it? Suno. Suno is so great. Let's see if you can listen to this. These modern times are so cool. Let's see. Where is it? Where is it? No, I have it hidden. Let's see. Let's see what do you guys think? What's this one? I will put it on repeat.
Get it done. Let's make it roll. Let's get it done. Let's make it roll. Let's get it done.
Cool, huh? Okay, back to Castlevania.
Battery low.
Oh, my stupid headset is battery lowing me. I also like the idea that the hair is sort of, well, also following a movement. Check here, we have sort of a twist, and here we have a movement as well. All of these can be suggested. I do not like the form of the hair though. There's something that doesn't sit right with me. I would like this to be as rounded as possible because that will make the image more dynamic. We can add little details or textures, something like that, later on. The important thing is that we nail this line. This will be already, or this should be, the mostly definite lines. It's important when inking to get a rhythm for it. It will help improve your speed and also sort of make your mind grasp certain concepts or apply certain concepts more naturally. The left eye, it's not perfect, it's far from perfect, it's not what I imagine. This is still too dirty. Let's reverse the image. I will need this in a separate folder. I don't even remember why did I create that layer. Okay, we have the light references there. See how the rhythm is still maintained. Okay, I think that we could do now that we have the general idea, is to see which areas are we going to apply full black to. We could turn those into figures. Here, for example. We've got this flowing here, which is, I think it's a really appealing line. This helps the move organically. It's part of the rhythm, accentuated by this here. Which other lines we have that could help us from a rhythm standpoint? This is where it's useful to rotate the image to work the lines on different angles. Ideally, the best, which is what all art teachers say and all fine artists say, the most important is to get the longer lines done first, because will help us greatly. It also allows us to more or less start getting a feel. Long lines can be interrupted, but for example here we've got a long line, see? We divide it into three and give a very subtle break there that can help us suggest flowiness and correct a bit here because we wanted this to go sort of upwards. The cape is still sort of thick. I would like if it was a brawler, also a sort of a monk, so he will have to use extra heavy equipment to be in constant training. Again, like Dragon Ball and its idea of the turtle shell to get used to everyday activities with the turtle shell on, and that naturally made Goku and Krillin stronger. A similar case happens in Rurouni Kenshin with Rurouni Kenshin's master, which has a cape that help. He's so powerful that he used that cape to conceal, to sort of have his full strength sealed through a series of complex mechanisms that make it extra heavier. Oh, now I remember. I wanted to do some sort of like a hardening spell, a wooden skin spell of sorts, sort of fading out. But we could all add those details. We could have those details later on once the image is more defined and we have the final lines. I never satisfied with the face and lose a lot of time. That's why I wanna keep it for the end. But as I can't help myself, is I'm so accustomed to waste a lot of time here. It's a matter of habit, really. You can quickly get used to it, sort of a 2 or 3 days or of straight practice help greatly to improve and get the lines, the best lines. Another thing we could do to make it sharper is to make the contrast. We would use this line here. I would like this to be all black. Perhaps we will have a pattern, but the contrast has to be pretty noticeable, since this will be tighter. This would sort of work if it was full black. Okay, let's finish up. Let's finish the lineup and we'll make it the checkpoint for Manga Mondays there. Let's power through. I wanted to start the stream on Monday. I don't have much time. I would like to, even though I prepare myself to sort of got plenty of things to do. I got a lot of works that got delayed and on the way, already in progress, so I have to finish with that. I had my wife's anniversary yesterday and Monday. That's the reason I had to cancel the stream, and I want to keep at it. I've quit. I'm tired of quitting and to sort of giving up and getting it back when things are harder than before. And since I'm tired of that, I would like to keep working and to maintain a schedule and honor the schedule and cancel or move or reprogram the streams as least as possible to show reliability. and to make the schedules actually worth a damn. I understand that the hour where I'm usually active or I'm scheduling might not be the optimal for my usual audience, which is comprised of my longest time clients so far, plus a couple more that used to be friends and don't use Twitch TV regularly, so they didn't unsubscribe. Again, I'm not interested in having thousands of followers. Ideally, if I get an audience of 50 to 30 to 50 people would be ideal. Max, when one say, okay, I had the chance to, I had this to the core. I have already developed a system. I'm already familiar with the whole process enough to become expedient at it and can whip it out like I would like ideally. I would like to make I can remember it was 3 streams a week and at least 4 more, including Saturdays, perhaps Sundays. I wouldn't like to have Sundays, but ideally I would like to have. I would consider myself in top shape if I can get to 10 streams a week. Including off-topic streams or freestyle streams, so to speak, on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Plus bonus episodes because, well, had I done today's stream, today Manga Mondays earlier on, I would have made an extra. I would have made an extra stream to progress the same image. So I will eventually make a stream following this one, and we will enter into a sort of. That is the thing I was thinking today, to the 1001 Nights of Scheherazade. That saved her, that not only saved her life, but also proved the king she was a really resourceful woman and a really interesting soul worth keeping alive and marrying. So, well, when you can see Scheherazade as an allegory for your work. If you manage to train yourself to finish 1 work and a half, believe me, you will advance significantly faster. Okay, I would take a bit more of water. Oh my god, I didn't know I was this thirsty. Okay, how much we got? We also need the outlines closed, like we always do. Look how this looks really inky. This doesn't look digital. And we are working in Photoshop, which has arguably the worst pen responsiveness, or I should say the most average pen responsiveness compared to Medium and compared to Sai. The sketching tools and inking tools of Sai are awesome. If I could become an official endorser of a product, a software. I will be or an ambassador of sorts, you could say. I will be an ambassador of Paint Toolsai. It's the software that made me fall in love, let's say, with digital art, because I mean I always loved art, but when you see that things get hard, you start to rationalize, especially when you're young. You start to rationalize and say, well, that is not a big thing, that's not a big deal. I could do all of this traditionally and get stubborn, stubborn, and get stubborn, and uh, a long time passes, and the only thing you accumulate is regret because uh, you weren't recognized the way your ego rhymed and made you stubborn, right? I would have become an ambassador of Paint Toolsai because when I discovered it, I think it was 2012 to 2014. I can't recall exactly, but it completely changed my life. It's the most perfect software ever. Of course, Photoshop is great. You could become a Photoshop only master and you could work anywhere in the industry. Speaking of working with the industry, I woke up today and was really pissed to see a LinkedIn notification, a Glassdoor notification, and a Twine notification. Three places that are for job searches, and all of them, in order for you to get the jobs, like Fiverr and Upwork are working nowadays, they want you to pay for it, and it pissed me off so much. So I will see if I have, let's put visualization because I want to take a break a bit. I need to take a break a bit because my eyes are hurting. Visualization. Let's put this a while here for your entertainment while I read the while I look for the what I wrote today in LinkedIn because I was pissed off. I don't even want to get into LinkedIn. I will go to the app I use to handle all my social media. I will eventually make a coffee post about all the free software and free apps available to improve your productivity and to take advantage of the time, your hobby time and your spare time for it to make the art voyage an interesting one and one that allows you that can allow you to submerge in the elements and experiment them unbounded. So well, let's see LinkedIn. Sent. This was the message. This was the message I wrote. Okay, let's lower the volume a bit. Okay, serious question here. Who thought making job applicants pay for premium features to get work opportunities was a good idea? Aren't you tired of being annoyed to join your nth platform, copy-pasting your resume, skills, and work experiences, no matter how self-evidently graphic they may be, and more than enough to convince a client to hire you or not? Aren't you tired of getting job offers spamming your mailbox saying that no, really, there's a lot of job offers matching your skills if you subscribe to premium like LinkedIn does? Or having to provide a physical location to have jobs recommended to you when you're a freelancer for an international market and high-speed internet is ubiquitous like Glassdoor does? Or having to click on a job offer only to see that the job poster has limited the reach of their offer. Lol, what? And you need to sign up for premium to be able to send your resume, like Twine does. Are you tired of getting suggestions from freelancing platforms such as Fiverr or Upwork that will only show your services or job offers if you pay for premium features? I know I'm sick of that. as I'm sick of trivial trends dictating the route of this ship we call mankind, or the selective discrimination of those called the diversity hires, where it's not your skill, talent, or level of expertise what's judged, but how much melanin is there in your skin, or which are your intimacy preferences, or which neurodivergence gives you an edge in the feel sorry economy, properly fueled and boosted by brain degrading apps such as Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. I like to express my disappointment with the modern algorithm dominated landscape in the same way I've always expressed my inconformity with the rat race. With the rat race. I like to express my disappointment with the automated bot policing and shadow banning that forces us to kneel before big tech. I like to express my disappointment with the way modern technologies are being wasted in worthless pursuits that has only made us dumber and that tramples common sense and basic standard human principles. By no means, I'm the best artist in the world. But how would you know when you only see whatever big tech wants you to see? How would you know when your brain automatically switches to too long didn't read mode because your attention span has been fried to a crisp and you've lost nearly 30% of your ability to focus because of social media usage? I would like intelligent people to start making questions in order to find answers, because these echo chamber Potemkin villages have reached a point of complete ridiculousness. Ridiculousness of complete ridiculousness. If you have read this full text, then not everything is lost. Otherwise, just go look for memes and over-abused self-help quotes. Wanna work with me? Have a look at this page. Not astroturfed by bots, not boosted by premiums, and above all, not suited for the soulless lot. Happy Monday, humans. I wrote that today, and I was thinking all day about these things because it pisses you off. You've got to be constantly publishing stupid stuff in order to appear relevant to the algorithms, because apparently that's what people want. Like I wrote in one of the blog posts, the human ingenuity has been lost. The sense of wonder and amazement and, and dumb fun, mostly harmless fun, of the old internet has been gone and replaced by whatever the modern thing is, which is clearly not helping us at all and is making us dumber. To that and the modern state and current state of the mainstream and corporations in love with AI art and what that means and represents for artists. And the way it threatens their livelihood. Besides to that, you have to add the fact to spend most of your time terminally online, participating in fake discussions or things, reactionary content, exposed to reactionary content, reactionary people, when you're just looking for a job, and when you're looking to you need to kneel to the algorithms, and I think that is unfair. I remember 2 to 3 years ago, I had regular clients on Fiverr. I had the chance to share my work on Facebook, on different Facebook groups, which are still the place where I usually get new clients, but it's been almost a year since I last had any results. I've seen my likes and stuff drop drastically because, well, I also abandoned my usage of Facebook with my personal accounts and stuff. I've been through heavy a heavy relationship restructuring around me. I've seen lots of people. I've already talked about this in another stream before. But anyway, we're losing the plot. Our subject of interest, luckily, and focus can be manga. So far, we're doing fast lines. We will compensate then when do the full inking. This is a good chance to suggest textures. This will be like points where we will be able to identify when jumping to the detail phase where the points are. We can also make this for the lights. We could shave off some of that white where we don't need them. We don't need them here because this part. Shit, wrong layer. There. This is not necessary. This may be necessary up to that point. We don't need that part up there because we have far less hair than before. I told you I want a rounder head. I could make his hair longer later on as part of a second plane, which is something that is also used a lot in manga. Most of the things you are seeing here, well, I'm tracing over a previous work that had a different flavor. We are trying to translate that flavor, right? Perhaps I will need longer hair up there. We'll see. We'll later see. The light source there is accurate though. This part there might as well go full black in our inked version. I'll put it there and we'll do it that right now. We could always course correct. Well, another thing that we get this sort of manga feeling is because I'm using this brush. I don't remember where I got it, but it resembles a classic ballpoint pen. Artist Meth. It seems to be the artist that made this one. Generally, manga fixes the stuff and gives you dynamic lines. Well, classic manga rather. Gave you those lines there in the same way it gave in order to conserve the movement. It made leather sort of with these little details to then have a white overlay. Look how all this, rather than making the image flatter, which is what usually happens in modern day American comic, in mainstream American comics, the shadows here are always used to convey movement, besides defining planes. Okay, we have to close the contours in order to have the image contained, to follow the same procedure, because I won't be coloring it this one. I won't be coloring this one, but I would like to add patterns later on and have this separate layer, the inside layer of the figure, separated from the background, so it's easier to work on it later, or to edit it rather. Yeah, I've got to work in my rhythm. I will have to listen to a couple of videos of pronunciation and hopefully become better at that. If you're no good at speaking English, might as well. Well, that was the reason. That was the reason why I initially made silent streams, and I wasn't thinking on even talking or using the microphone. For the things I do, I thought that getting cool background music and working on the stuff was gonna be enough. I think indeed it's for the initial purposes or the long-term purposes rather that I have for my work and the scope of what I have in mind. As I told you before, ideally no more than 50 people, and max 100 people, max, tops. I agree with, in modern times you only need 1,000 loyal fans. The truth is, for what I do, for what I've always done, I don't see the readers as fans. I see them as sort of the human judge of the works I take part of, to see if everything I'm telling here is clear enough, or it's just clear to me, or it seems obvious to me, but I'm unable to. I become unable, or what I'm trying to explain isn't as clear as I think it is. I think the audience is the best judge for that, and I like to think I work for the audience. I do not really believe in fans, because fans are volatile. Plenty of people can enjoy your work without having necessarily to be your fans. I don't think there is anything wrong with that. That makes the relationships more authentic. I can tell you for a fact, each one of my clients now is people I care deeply about, is people that has shown to care and to appreciate their work with me. And to me that is honest. But that is also because they are not my fans. They enjoy my work. They help me with their ideas, with their commissions, with their inspirations. They are helping me create or work better, or challenge myself and offer something that is far worthy than just being a fan, because when you're a fan of something, everyone is trying to sell you something. I'm not interested in the least to sell anything to anybody. I want my work to be of value for my clients. And back to that point, I couldn't have 1,000 fans, especially when I'm not interested in selling them anything. I'm not interested in creating content to be consumed by thousands of people. Of course, I have time lapses and tutorials and stuff that hopefully eventually any pilgrim, like I like to say, any casual pilgrims of the web are able to hopefully learn something from it or find them useful. I'm not interested in them in selling them merchandise or stuff. What I put in YouTube in the form of tutorials, it's also as both doubles as an instructive. It doubles as tutorials, as I said, as sort of educational in a way. But at the same time, the time lapses, of course, for some might be entertainment. They are pretty brief and modestly edited, but they also serve for portfolio purposes. I mean, it's the best way to see if my method of work would be of use to whatever work you had in mind or need resolved. My annoyance with LinkedIn, with Twine, with all those places is that they ask for supposed qualifications and ask for references, and I get that connects and networking are important. I'm not an idiot. I know that is, and I agree. I can help with it, but agree with the truth. But I won't believe for a second that the modern landscape or that the opportunities of work one is looking after are not achieved because one doesn't have a premium membership. I won't fall in that. I won't fall for that. I won't be part of said system. I have no interest whatsoever, to be honest. And nobody human was. Before, if you were skilled, you were given a chance. Now, if people don't know you exist, how would they know if you are good or bad to what you want to do? I get the point to say, hey, I'm just simply not interested in your work. It's all good. It's all great. But at least you took the time to take a look and make an opinion out of that, or just ignore it because it wasn't your cup of tea, or it wasn't particularly the art wasn't able to tell you anything or to convey anything, which is perfect, I guess. To think that something is for everybody is a stupid notion, to be honest. These lines are common in manga as well. I don't know if this ear is right. That's why we work the image like this and like this. We always check for balance. Is everything closed? No, it's not. See, we have here this. We close there. We leave this because it's attractive. We can clean it later on. I usually clean it later on. Don't fix too much on this though. When you're doing what is called slow thinking, according to Kahneman, fast thinking, slow thinking, which are the two processes we learn. When we are doing slow thinking, we are learning, we are digesting information. When we are doing quick thinking, we're accelerating and we are sort of putting all of our knowledge in autopilot, and that is the way to advance. Sometimes it's hard to work on a story or to try to think about a storyboard or a comic. It's hard to think the sequence of events or the way one will structure it because one is trying to slow think the thing. And actually, what you have to do is to enter into a rhythm where those ideas and the stories flow naturally. They eventually come to you, but you have to look for them in order to appear. They will eventually manifest if they are that important, but I wouldn't advise you to wait for 10 or 20 years to see if that is the case. Just go for it. Believe me when I tell you, you will save yourself a lot of time and will have access to a whole bunch of great opportunities. Real opportunities, not astroturf opportunities. Real opportunities, no algorithm-centric interactions or paid interactions or what they call non-organic interactions. Fuck off. Facebook ruined everything. Ironically, it's still the only place where you can sort of outside of forums, right? There's a reason why people have came back to forums, or rather never abandoned them. Nothing is more illustrative of internet than forums, which in their simplified version, simplified millennials and zoomers with their fried heads that can only process image boards. Well, let's say yes. It can't. It's unquestionable that image boards are also part of what makes the internet the internet. It shows how stupid the internet can be and how noxious the effects of being terminally online nowadays can be. But honestly, I'll take any image board and any forum, of course, over social media like Facebook or Instagram. Well, Instagram is completely useless, completely and absolutely useless. Instagram has become a sub-Tinder, has become a place where whores advertise themselves, where people in search of instant gratification go and think that they are doing what they want, and suddenly you find, for example, all the people that apparently need to show everyone else that they are having a particular dinner or a particular having I don't know, a barbecue with friends, or have a dinner with friends or with a date, and it seems like they won't be able to enjoy the moment or the food if they don't upload the image to Instagram. I mean, what the fuck, man? That is why things are suck so much recently, because people still there are a lot of people still giving a place or devoting so much time to that stupid culture that nets you nothing. Nothing. It makes you believe that popularity or valuable things want to delude you into thinking that all of that is valuable, and it is not. It's not. If you abandon Instagram for a month, you lose absolutely nothing, and if you lose something, it's for one of two reasons. We'll have to lower this nose here because I don't like it being that short. Perhaps the mouth as well, because that chin is too long and I don't like it. I don't like longer chins. They are stereotypical for elves. Yeah, that looks more like it. Do we have it completely closed? No. I think not, but we'll find out. Oof. This is the only part. These two are the only parts that are closed. We have to check there. We have to check up there. Let's see. Here, everything's good. Here, it's closed. Here, it's not closed. Let's see. We could use a thicker brush there. This is valid as well, as textures go. Everything helps. It's not always recommended to use every style and every technique. It's good to practice them all, of course. We told we were gonna make this full blah 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 blah. I have to practice my my voiced bilabial plosive. B b. I feel like a caveman. I remember back then when, well, not by much, but I was far more eloquent. But well, there's so much you can do. Thank God for the online chances, right? The opportunities and all the ways to learn. Of course, I have to be grateful for that. But there's so much you can do when you don't have anyone to practice with, to practice your English. That is also, as I've said, the main reason why I write. I mostly write in English, and I think that should be more than enough to communicate with audiences, with clients, and whichever else out there is important outside of audiences and clients as artists go, as things important for art go. Instagram is definitely not one of them. In fact, when you think about it, Instagram forever ruined. I saw this in about 2013, 2014 perhaps. I was one of the first persons. I was one of the first people that had Instagram. In my city. And I found weird, and I thought that, well, yeah, it was cool to share images with as less text as possible, because the idea was to let the image speak for itself. See how the average person interpret that, or how the average person used that function of Instagram. It became into a stereo, almost most of the time stereotypical image, a prefab pose, like I like to say. Yes, why not? This will make it more elf. There. Okay. Is it closed? There is closed, there is closed, there is closed. Usually the hand, right? Inside here, everything's good. This will help us with the silhouette. Another thing that doesn't help with my spoken English is the fact that, well, I don't watch Netflix. I do not endorse Netflix culture. It's another thing that serves no purpose whatsoever. If with the limited time we have on Earth, if I had 20 hours a day and I had to draw between 8 to 12 hours a day, and discounting the free days, if I had to choose between Netflix or an old movie I know I enjoy and I already have and was created before Netflix, such as, for example, the trilogy of the Lord of the Rings, such as Terminator 2, such as the original Cowboy Bebop, of course the anime, which is the only real thing available about Cowboy Bebop. And using Cowboy Bebop as an example, you sort of could have an answer of an idea of why I do not endorse, nor I care about Netflix culture. A lot of things worth watching are nothing but AstroTurf content that tries to make everyone think it's popular or important or relevant or everyone is talking about it, when in reality it's all staged. I do not believe in the true popularity of modern stuff, especially on Netflix. I'm not seeing quality content. Well, I don't give them money. I don't see any content whatsoever. But apparently people can imagine themselves doing something productive with their times. Let's say you watch a series in Netflix or HBO, because it's all the same. There's no difference. Let's say you waste your time like that. How many books could you read? Life-changing books. Books that will push you to fulfill your purpose in life. Books that will help you to imagine great stories or to show you new worlds that television and series and movies will never show you. If I had to choose in the limited time on Earth we all have, why would I waste my time with Netflix? Why? I could be playing video games, which are, when done well, interactive entertainment. You can't surpass. There is no way to surpass interactive entertainment. Cinema is obsolete. And cinema, the existence and promotion of cinema, allows for Hollywood economics, right? And we know that's not right. That's not helpful for anybody. And everything, every behavior and person that goes into that direction becomes mostly forever lost. There are plenty of things you could do with your life. There are plenty of other things than giving Netflix and Hollywood money. Everyone knows it, but everyone loves to have an excuse to not think. There's nothing wrong if you enjoy movies and the like, but consider that there are a lot of lots of media there that you do not know, that you don't know of. Sorry. How many things you will never be able to see because you won't have the time. But yeah, keep wasting time with Netflix. Who a couple of years ago were so proud of themselves because the only competitor they had was the people's sleep schedules. Imagine how fucked in the head you would have to be to brag about that. Imagine how fucked in the head you would have to be to propose binge marathons of series. And just think for a moment, if there are series and products that are manufactured to be binged or prepared to be binged eaten, do you think they will give you something actually nutritious for you, for your brain, for your health, for your mind, for your thoughts, for fulfilling your purpose in life? Which purpose in life do you fulfill sitting on a couch passively watching a story unfold at the rhythm and speed that Hollywood or that Netflix demands? When you could be playing a game and you could be playing it as fast and slow as you want, because you would be exploring it at your own rhythm. And I'm talking video games. I'm not talking about stupid things like Call of Duty. Those are not games. Same with mobile applications. Today I went to get some cash to a store, and I saw one kid. It must have had, like, I don't know, 16, 17 years, perhaps a bit older. And the way he moved while he was playing supposedly a game on his cell phone was so embarrassing. It's been a while since I felt so much second-hand embarrassment. No, really, this has reached levels that are ridiculous and also impossible to fight. The only way to win the game is to not play it. Therefore, don't waste any time. See how much money you could save by not having Netflix, because there's nothing good there. There are plenty of other places you could get lots of entertainment. That would be and would result in a best use of your time. There's an overabundance of entertainment, and that's why things are the way they are. Also, the fastest way to turn your brain off is to give you series and movies. Because video games, not Call of Duty, will invariably help you think. And when I'm speaking of video games, I'm also omitting Fortnite, because Fortnite is a Trojan. I'm not seeing anybody getting clever by playing Fortnite or following Fortnite content or buying Fortnite content and competing on that zero sum game of microtransactions. But well, let's not pay attention. Who cares about the kids, right? They are having fun. That is the thing that is involved. That's the way we have it, you idiots. Congratulations. Again, you can enjoy Netflix all you want. Anyone can do whatever they want. I just want them to consider the alternatives. because I highly suspect that all of that is made not to make you happier, not to make you cleverer, not to make you uh, uh, better adjusted or more resilient or more in tune with your emotions, or to help you improve your this should be closed already, right? No, take a look at this. This here means it's not closed. Now it is. Okay, let's see. Indeed. We also had a... Oh, fuck. There. We could also have a little hole, perhaps there, perhaps there. We will see later on. For now we have a silhouette. We have a silhouette. This is already important. We select inverse. First step, the easiest way. We close all the lines, right? We can dispose of this and we can dispose of this for the time being. These are the closed lines. We can see this is far more manga than this one. This one isn't strictly anime either. It just has some particular elements, but as regarding proportions and stuff and armor, again, the idea here was to go for a more realistic approach. Rather a grounded approach, something that could be believable. Again, this is not finished. A lot of things were incomplete here. Let's compare with this one. We have a slender figure. We have certain things. Of course, not all the blacks are put. There we will have black. We will have black here, probably in this part here and here. There are plenty of belts and little things that will have, of course, be of contrast. But okay, how do we close this? How do we separate? We select the outer sides. Shift click here to add layer. Shift click here and here, which will be our holes in the silhouette. We could even do a suggest. For example, well, I didn't finish this because it was a full line. I should have done that. Never mind. We focused on closing the... This isn't closed, god damn it. Ah, no, not needed anyway. Okay. When all of this is selected, you right click and go to select inverse. After going to select inverse, you go to filter, selection, select, modify, contract, and you contract by 2 pixels. Let's remember, let's check the image size of this image is A4. It's ready to print. It's 300 pixels per inch. We have 21 and 29.7 centimeters. We extract 1 pixel that will help us. Now we have separated figure from the background. We create the clipping mask. We reduce the selection by 1 pixel in order for the ink to take over, because otherwise you will have sort of a white line outside your line work that looks ugly and doesn't help. You could always reduce it later on or could dispose of it later on, but sometimes it's nice to have it here. Okay, we need to either cut there. We decided we would make these sleeves sort of rounded and flowy in a way, but we also need sort of a spoon. Let's back to the line so we don't get lost. Come on. Something there. We might need something like this, right? To make it a bit, to make the difference in perhaps even this should be something like this. Perhaps we could put some the part of the leather belt here, like below this part here, to give an additional. This is too rounded. It doesn't look quite good. This is not helping as well. This perhaps is what's giving us the weird looks. We will try to reduce it. The good thing about this, and to have the figure closed and clipped, is that we can delete, which we do not need without losing the lines. And at the same time, we can sort of, I like doing this, sort of sculpting. That way you could get what is usually called accidents, but also help you with the rhythm. We are not only thinning the silhouette and cleaning it up, but also we could get into details that will be noticeable. Of course, these lines have to be cleaned. We are not going to do this now because it's a lot of work. We could sort of delete or thin out the lines to get the effect we want. There. Try and clean up the dirtier lines. This was just a suggestion of what I wanted to do. It doesn't have to be definite, not final, like it says these days. There's a lot we could clean here. This line doesn't go. Some things will be masked later on with the blacks, and now that we have the image closed, we can focus on closing the other details. Remember, the idea is to make the work as clear for you as possible. The clearer your workflow, the better your chances to avoid having to do things 1000 times like I did in the past and still do, to be honest. It's nothing to be worried about. It's part of the learning process. You need to sort of get acquainted with the types of you need to sort of work on this in slow thinking mode. So once you are able to understand what things make the picture work, you will be able to apply them on fast brain mode, fast thinking mode rather. I wanted this cape to be sort of decorated with druidic-like motifs, but we can work on those later on. It looks much more manga than before, and still we need to work out some details. Luckily we have the background here, and now we have it contained within what we've done. This is another thing I like to do. It's a digital trick, but it helps a lot to establish certain a bit of multiply, the layer set on multiply. This helps a lot to It's a wee bit. It doesn't seem too important, but it helps a lot define uh, what we're working with. Let's duplicate this. Let's make it a bit darker. The background, that is. Here we have what I want, which is that frame. It also sort of gives us a sense that the character is advancing towards us. That's why the swagger we've worked in this initial rhythm stage. Well, we should have to finish these lines here. We could close like I want to. These are supposed to be sort of either reinforcements or either reinforcements for texture or for shadow. For shadows. Gotta work on my diction. God damn it, my pronunciation gets so rusty. Well, I guess you could say that's something you could get from watching movies all the time, or watching Netflix, or watching series regularly, that you are exposed to the language. And therefore, it's easier for you to sort of get a feel for what the diction, the rhythm, and all the elements that compel the pertaining spoken speech. I promise I'll get good at it. I've been told, if I could speak in Spanish, as I've said before, I will make Spanish-speaking audiences are not my main target audience. I'm not interested in broadcasting for Argentinian audiences or any audiences that are not directly interested in being my clients. I had enough of that for over 15 years and still do. People here still think that, okay, oh, so you earn a living by drawing. Whenever you have some free time, can you draw me something very little? Is like that. And when you tell them, okay, yeah, I'll do it for you, although I know how this is going to end, and they start asking for things, they haven't paid, right? Because you told them you will do the image for free, or will provide them a sketch or what have you, and they suddenly start to, they wanted something for free that you can do in 20-30 minutes, which is always 100% a lie. I've got 15 years of experience with that, both nationally and internationally, but especially here where I live. And they suddenly start to ask for details and things as if they had paid you your price, as if they've paid the price you request to other clients, and other clients around the world think it's fair for what you do and the quality of work you deliver. There's that saying that nobody is prophet on his or her own land, right? Nadie es profeta en su tierra. I grew up thinking that, and I know that to be the case. The only way to be a prophet on your land, on your town, is by becoming a celebrity or becoming a renowned figure outside. Doesn't matter where, but in another country, in a foreign country, and then come back, so everyone can finally admire your work and stuff, because it seems to be important for somewhere outside, or because some people pay really good coin for whatever you do or offer, and then you become sort of a VIP. I think we live in a world where certain people who didn't finish school uh, has underdeveloped brains because they don't have a fully functional brain, a fully solidified brain, let's say. People under 25 years old, which is more or less the age where the brain solidifies, which is making a surreal amount of money, but have no skills of their own. Uh, the very same people that make an argument against quality in everything. Making those people make money is infuriating, I take, for any sensible person, especially for artists. But let's take a look at artists. We've always been a broken bunch, and the art sphere is composed by very people, lots of people that have certain vices, such as not honoring deadlines or disappearing when having to deliver a work. I've been that guy lots of time in the past, and the not so distant past as well. That cost to that cost me to lose a lot of work, good job opportunities, or good long-term collaborations. So, well, I was looking for a job. I was seeing that I was getting tired of that upgrade to premium to see your features. Fuck off. I don't need you to make my thing. And if I need you to make my thing, then the world is clearly fucked. Fortunately, when you believe in the blue oceans economy, like Satoru Iwata believed in, and like all the intelligent people believes in. By the way, that does not make me intelligent. Only to say this is clearly the most intelligent choice is to go for a blue ocean economy where you don't have to compete with nobody because you offer something that is only you can make, and nobody can compete with you on being you. That's where art is useful because nobody can compete. It's if you have a particularly appealing style of, or some things you enjoy doing and works you enjoy doing are really good, they will eventually find their audience, and many people will follow you along, and will follow other artists as well. That's the good thing about the blue ocean economy. The bad thing is that many people allow their scarcity mindset to rule over them and make them behave in an egotistical way, which in turn still allow for nepotism, which is something I find detestable because if something is algorithm based, if your value is determined by the way algorithms catch your things, then it's not a matter if one can compete with you or not. It's a matter of no contest, because there's no way you could compete against that. Against, you become part of the system and therefore part of the problem, and therefore gave them the proof they were right all along. and so have another excuse to let things get shit like they have been. At one point we will reach rock bottom regarding all this, and the people that has the best chances to remain completely unaffected by that are people that will be working on their own works. Most likely artistic works, things that they legitimately enjoy doing, because let's be real, sarcastic air quotes, creating content for TikTok is not something you enjoy, it's something you're addicted to. Using TikTok, it's not something you enjoy, it's something you're addicted to. It's something the application is made to make you addicted to. And turns your brain into mush, depriving you of attention, rewiring your reward circuits, and turning your brain into a gambler's brain that each time that scrolls down on Instagram and TikTok is like pulling the lever of a coin slot machine, just like in the casino. Many such cases. Well, if this has fur, this must have fur as well. It's part of the design. This should have to be ideally straight. Remember what we said about flowy lines whenever possible. Tightness will make lines all around his. This will give us extra depth. We'll be able to exploit when working inks in more detail. But well, I think this is a good place to reach checkpoint. Oh, of course, I forgot. This is something I do regularly. I use a color over my shading in order for it to not make it too boring. This also helps a lot to better see the impact, or if we are, how do you call it? If we are sort of getting or approaching the results we want for the images we are working with. Where is the black? Which one is it? Where? Multiply? No. No, it isn't. What's happening here? We won't paint again, we won't paint this image, we will do something along the lines of, well, we will apply, what we will do is to apply well, we can also make this with the lines and put them below the line work. Another difference between manga and anime and other media is that we won't be coloring the inks. The inks will always be black, solid black. That will remain unchanged. That remains unchanged and also helps to sorry, to make the image look more solid. Now we have the whites there. Of course, this is not quite is white, but perhaps the layer is not the best. Never mind. We will use the white again. We are using it over a multiply layer, so the whites won't be clearly that strong. Multiply sort of doesn't interpret white. we'll just mark them just a bit to get a feel. Always get a feel for the image. Try to see where it works, where it looks weird, because those are the places we will be revisiting. Just imagine that in the past you had to do all this either tracing a lot, doing a lot of iterations until you got the exact result you needed, and sometimes that's not even allowed. That's why manga can part of manga's wow, 180 minutes already. That's why manga looks so solid. Okay, let's use a gross, or rather sketch, quick setting up of shades. This will have to be solid as well, because we will fill them with pattern. We will turn this into the iconic great grayscale tone of the manga. This looks pretty similar to what we've done with the Crusader illustration, which is the other one I wanted to follow and wanted to finish because it's part of the Fan Art Fridays. These are not definite, right? Just getting a feel again for the planes, especially for the planes. They have to be as simple as possible. They have to convey as much depth as with as little work as possible. Not work, but rather not thinking much about it. Trust your instinct. Trust the time you've spent with your work, and speed up. Not rush, speed up. That's the difference between doing things desperately which is rushing things up, and speeding up. Speeding up is simply working more efficiently because you are not wasting time on there are no particular issues you can't resolve, or there are no particular obstacles in your way because you did this a tons of times. That's the logic behind speeding up one's workflow. If you need a specific amount of time, there's nothing wrong with that. It's perfect to get the work exactly how you need it. Remember, again, we're talking about manga here, so everything I'm saying it's under that lens. Okay. I would like to see if I could show you guys. Okay, we have this layer. This is a solid layer. Let's see if we can put a pattern on it, right? We could. Of course, this is not final, this is not finished. I won't repeat that any longer. Okay, let's again select the layer, select inverse, and we will cut the unnecessary lines outside our work, because we will need each layer we could get. Okay, now that we have there, for example, we could add the pattern on the base. The base is gray, alright? I had the tones. I had to look for them. Give me a moment. Oh, I can't remember what it was. It has to be, I believe, in a moment, please. Let's see. I will put the visualization again to make it to make it watchable for you as I look for these files. Because I can't remember where they were. That's because even though I have plenty of folders and stuff, I'm a mess. Tengo un despelote. Proyectos. No. No, where was it? They have to be here. I had a folder with all the there they are. I don't know which one is the exact one, but we could do this. Here we have this one is printable file, printable quality. So we can apply them fully here. See, do you see? It might look weird. This is because of the way Photoshop is showing you the stuff, but it will look like the real deal. Well, imagine imagine if we add that grayscale only to the shadows. Can you see there how the whites and the plain background give sort of an additional layer there, because I'm limited to what we marked previously. I could put this in normal, ideally. That is the normal, that is the regular color. From here we could put the layer to multiply to make it the dark pattern that you also usually see on manga. See how this gives us a more manga look, and it's not even finished, and the lights are just temporary as well. It doesn't change with the color. We could make it darker. We could make it as lighter or as darker as we need it to be. Of course, the full black, it could be useful. It could be useful for manga purposes, but it's not what we are looking after now, at the moment. We will use them as background because I like it. I like it that way. Besides, if we use those that grayscale, we set it to multiply. We will be able to see through, therefore making our work much easier, and without having to, for example, use two different tones like it's usually done in the traditional way. Of course, this has to be black. This has to be we need some textures there. The image is still incomplete, but we sort of already have a manga feeling, and that's what I wanted to have for this stream that we started yesterday as part of the Manga Monday number 3. Let's save this work. Let's compare with this one. there definitely you sort of have the same idea, but it flows better in a way. The focus, of course, this has an extra highlight raw layer, which makes it's too bright. The idea was to determine the planes and then soften a bit the effect of light or lowering that layer, but I merged everything to avoid further complicating things. Well, and we compare here. The images are this is the long line we talked about. See the way we made them. We made it sort of. We must that line with these lines here, which also gives us this rhythm here, going like a wave, like this, and then flowing in this direction. We've used still have to reduce lines and amplify tones and planes, but this more or less gives us the overall idea of what I was looking after. It looks far more manga-ish than the initial piece. It looks far sleeker. You can sort of tell without taking a look at the hair or particularly the ears that it's a semi-human, that it's a fighter. We haven't painted blood, and perhaps the face still has far too many lines that I should erase, or rather use those lines like these shadows here. We will see later on. But well, this is a good place to leave the checkpoint. 180 minutes of stream, I think have been good enough. We will save this. Let's look for a screen. Is not useful. Overlay is the one that could work the best regarding manga style. I always prefer something more orange-ish rather. This is the color, don't ask me why, but it's the color I got used to work with. Something similar, some sort of golden. We could make this even darker, but of course we won't do that. We will eventually work something in the background. But well, we've reached up to this point, and we will follow during the week. On Wednesday we had the Waifu Wednesday, and I will have to power through the illustration I've made for Valkyrie Profile Lenneth. Let me quickly show it to you. If I see here, where is Lenneth? Where are you, Lenneth? Where are you, Lenneth? Oh, I'm still working on Medivan, so I can show you on Photoshop. All right. Anyway, thank you for joining me. I hope whenever you watch this, is some of the things we've spoken here are useful to you, and I hope you will come back. And if you enjoy this, I would like to recommend to somebody else. If you have a fellow artist or have a friend who is an artist and you think might find something of the things I have on here on Twitch and on my Coffee page, which the bot gently has provided a link for. Here is my Coffee page, where you can here's me. It seems like there appears that I'm streaming right now. You can either collaborate one time or monthly. These are my commissions, the base. All of them are different, how do you call it? Well, you have the prices there and different options. weekly posts about different things, what I call the coffee plan, how will I structure and how I plan to work on coffee. But mainly, if you're interested in art and something of this, if you need art advice, if you're interested in turning your story or script into a web or webcomic storyboard with a manga style like I've shown you, or if you want a fantasy character in A4 full color with additional extras, you can see and check here in HRZGraph, which is my coffee page, hopefully forever. I'm really interested in having Patreon or becoming a Patreon-minded individual, or to have a to fall into a behavioral Patreon like I've explained previously. So anyway, I think this is all for today. Thanks for joining me, and see you later. See you on Wednesday. Bye bye.